Ever wondered which aircraft flew so fast that missiles couldn't catch it? The SR-71 Blackbird is the fastest jet ever built, holding speed records that remain unbeaten after decades. Today, we're revealing 15 mind-blowing facts about this titanium spy plane that leaked fuel, glowed red-hot, and terrified America's enemies. And number 1 will show you why this Cold War legend represents humanity's greatest engineering triumph. Hit that like button, subscribe for more aviation history, and let's discover the black jet that could outrun anything in the sky and never got shot down, despite thousands of attempts. 15. Fastest plane ever. The SR-71. Blackbird holds the official speed record at 2,193 miles per hour, which equals Mach 3.3 or 3 times the speed of sound. This record has stood unbeaten for over 4 decades, since being set in 1976. The aircraft could fly from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. in just 64 minutes, crossing the entire continental United States in 67 minutes total. During its operational career, over 4,000 missiles were fired at SR-71s by various enemies. Not a single missile ever came close to hitting one because the Blackbird simply accelerated away from danger. Speed provided its primary defense, making conventional weapons completely useless against it. 14. Leaked fuel on ground. The SR-71's titanium skin panels fit loosely together when the aircraft sat on the ground at normal temperatures. Large gaps existed between panels, causing fuel to drip constantly onto the runway before takeoff like a sieve. Ground crews placed drip pans underneath to catch the leaking fuel, accepting this as a completely normal operating procedure. Pilots had to refuel immediately after takeoff because so much fuel leaked during ground operations and taxi. However, this wasn't a design flaw, but rather an intentional engineering compromise. At cruising speed, friction heated the titanium panels until they expanded, sealing the gaps perfectly tight. The leaking stopped completely once the aircraft reached operational temperature at high altitude. 13. Titanium construction challenges. The airframe consists of 93% titanium because no other material could withstand the extreme temperatures generated by air friction. Lockheed had to invent entirely new manufacturing techniques since titanium was rarely used in aircraft construction previously. The CIA even created fake companies to purchase titanium from the Soviet Union without revealing the true purpose. Working with titanium proved extraordinarily difficult, requiring specially designed tools that wouldn't damage the temperamental metal. Rivets had to be installed with perfect precision, or the panels would crack during temperature cycles. Manufacturing a single SR-71 took years of painstaking work by skilled craftsmen. 12. Flew at 85,000 feet. The Blackbird cruised at altitudes reaching 85,000 feet, which placed it at the very edge of space itself. At this height, the aircraft flew above 99% of Earth's atmosphere, in conditions similar to the space environment. Pilots could see the planet's curvature clearly and observe the sky appearing black instead of blue above them. This extreme altitude placed the SR-71 higher than any surface-to-air missile could reach during the Cold War era. Enemy radar operators watched helplessly as the Blackbird crossed their territory completely beyond their defensive capabilities. The combination of record altitude with record speed created absolute invulnerability that frustrated Soviet air defense planners for 3 decades of operations. 11. Pilots wore spacesuits. 71 pilots wore full pressure suits identical to those worn by NASA astronauts during space missions. These suits were absolutely necessary because the cockpit could suddenly depressurize at extreme altitude, which would be instantly fatal. Without pressure suit protection, a pilot's blood would literally boil at 85,000 feet altitude due to low atmospheric pressure. Before each mission, pilots breathed pure oxygen for several hours to purge nitrogen from their bloodstreams. The uncomfortable suits made eating nearly impossible and bathroom functions extremely difficult during 6-hour missions. Only the most elite pilots qualified for SR-71 duty because of the extraordinary physical and mental demands involved. 10. 600 degrees Fahrenheit surface temperature air friction heated the SR-71's titanium skin to temperatures exceeding 600 degrees Fahrenheit during high-speed flight. The aircraft's special black paint was specifically formulated to radiate heat away from the structure into space. Windscreen glass heated to over 600 degrees, requiring special materials that wouldn't crack or melt under extreme thermal stress. Despite flying at 85,000 feet where outside temperatures reached -60 degrees, the cockpit needed air conditioning systems. The extreme heat caused the entire airframe to physically expand several inches longer during flight than on the ground. Leading edges glowed dull red from the intense heat, visible to observers on the ground below at night. 9. Designed by Kelly Johnson. Legendary aerospace engineer Clarence Kelly Johnson created the SR-71 at Lockheed's secret Skunk Works facility in California. Johnson solved seemingly impossible engineering problems that other designers considered beyond current technology. He designed the Blackbird during the 1950s, yet it remained operational until the 1990s without major modifications needed. The aircraft's smooth curves and sharp angles still appear futuristic even today, decades after first flight. Johnson designed the distinctive Chinese running along the fuselage that generated lift at high speeds, improving efficiency dramatically. Every surface served multiple purposes simultaneously: structural strength, heat management, aerodynamic efficiency, and radar deflection. 8. Camera systems revolutionary. The SR-71 carried camera systems capable of photographing 100,000 square miles of territory during a single hour of flight. The resolution was so precise that analysts could identify individual golf balls lying on courses from 80,000 feet altitude. Film canisters weighed over 3,000 pounds when fully loaded, requiring significant aircraft structural strength to carry them safely. These cameras provided crucial intelligence about Soviet military installations, missile sites, and naval bases throughout the Cold War. Reconnaissance photographs from SR-71 missions monitored conflicts in Vietnam, the Middle East, and potential hotspots worldwide. The intelligence gathered helped prevent surprise attacks and potentially stopped nuclear conflicts before they could develop. 7. Habu nickname in Okinawa. The SR-71 was based at Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan, for Pacific operations throughout much of its career. Local Japanese residents nicknamed it Habu, after an extremely fast and deadly pit viper snake native to the island. The comparison was appropriate because the Blackbird struck quickly and inspired fear just like the dangerous reptile. From Okinawa, SR-71S flew reconnaissance missions near Soviet territory, over North Korea, and throughout Southeast Asia during conflicts. The aircraft's mysterious presence became legendary in the region, symbolizing American technological superiority during tense Cold War confrontations. When the SR-71 program finally ended, the retirement ceremony was held at Kadena, honoring the aircraft's long service there. 6. Never shot down. Despite attempts, enemy forces fired over 4,000 surface-to-air missiles at SR-71s during 3 decades of operational missions worldwide. Despite this incredible number of attempts, not a single missile ever successfully hit a Blackbird. Pilots could actually see missile launches from the cockpit and simply push the throttles forward to accelerate away. Standard evasive maneuvers were completely unnecessary because the aircraft's speed made interception mathematically impossible for 1960s-era weapons. This invulnerability frustrated Soviet air defense commanders who watched helplessly as Blackbirds violated their airspace regularly. The psychological impact of this untouchable spy plane demonstrated the futility of conventional air defenses against advanced technology. The SR-71's perfect survival record represents one of aviation's greatest Cold War success stories. 5. Required specialized fuel. The SR-71 burned JP-7 fuel, a special formulation developed specifically for this aircraft's unique requirements. Standard jet fuel would explode from the extreme temperatures generated during Mach 3+ flight operations. JP-7 remained extremely stable even when heated to several hundred degrees, preventing catastrophic fires or explosions. However, this special fuel was so stable it wouldn't ignite easily, requiring a separate cesium-based chemical starter fuel to light the engines. JP-7 served multiple purposes beyond combustion. It also functioned as hydraulic fluid and coolant throughout various aircraft systems. This multi-purpose fuel system reduced weight but created serious logistical challenges. Only a few facilities worldwide could produce JP-7, making fuel availability a constant operational concern. 4. Reconnaissance. Mission. Master Strategic Reconnaissance was the SR-71's primary mission, gathering photographic and electronic intelligence over denied enemy territory. The Blackbird replaced the vulnerable U-2 spy plane, which flew slower and lower, making it susceptible to missiles. SR-71S could investigate any location on Earth within hours, unlike satellites which followed predictable orbits enemies could track. The aircraft monitored Soviet military buildups, verified arms control treaty compliance, and tracked conflicts in the Middle East. During the Cuban Missile Crisis aftermath, Blackbirds regularly overflew Cuba to ensure missiles were actually removed as promised. North Korea, Vietnam, and other hostile nations were surveilled constantly without any ability to stop the intrusions. This intelligence-gathering capability prevented surprise attacks and potentially stopped wars before they started. 3. Retired too early. The Air Force retired the SR-71 fleet in 1990, primarily for budget reasons as Cold War tensions decreased. Officials claimed reconnaissance satellites made the expensive Blackbird unnecessary for modern intelligence-gathering operations. However, satellites follow predictable orbits and cannot quickly investigate sudden developments or emerging crises like aircraft can. Public outcry and congressional pressure forced the program's reactivation in 1995, but only briefly until final retirement in 1999. Many military analysts still consider the premature retirement a serious strategic mistake that eliminated unique capabilities. No replacement aircraft exists today that can perform similar missions with the same speed and flexibility. Modern reconnaissance relies entirely on satellites and slow drones, neither of which match the SR-71's rapid response capability. 2. Ground crew expertise required. Maintaining the SR-71 required extraordinarily skilled technicians who underwent years of specialized training. Pre-flight preparations took many hours as crews meticulously inspected every system before pilots could safely fly missions. Post-flight inspections were equally critical because even minor damage from extreme temperatures could cause catastrophic failures on the next flight. Titanium's temperamental nature meant mechanics needed special knowledge that regular aircraft maintenance personnel didn't possess. The complex integration of engines, fuel systems, cooling systems, and reconnaissance equipment demanded perfect teamwork. Small maintenance errors could kill pilots, so ground crews bore tremendous responsibility for mission success. The mutual respect between pilots and ground crews was extraordinary, with both groups understanding their complete dependence on each other. 1. Kelly Johnson's greatest achievement. Here's the ultimate truth. The SR-71 Blackbird represents the absolute peak of Cold War engineering genius and human innovation. No other aircraft combined extreme speed, incredible altitude, practical stealth characteristics, and reconnaissance capabilities so successfully. Kelly Johnson solved engineering problems that other designers considered completely impossible with 1950s technology. The aircraft operated successfully for over 3 decades, without losing a single plane to enemy action despite constant danger. Intelligence gathered by SR-71 missions prevented wars, saved countless lives, and demonstrated American technological dominance throughout the Cold War. The Blackbird inspired entire generations of aerospace engineers to pursue seemingly impossible goals. And there you have it. 15 incredible facts proving the SR-71 Blackbird was the most amazing aircraft ever created by human hands. Which fact blew your mind the most? The fuel leaking on the ground or the 600-degree surface temperature? Maybe the 4,000 missiles that all missed? Or the fact it flew faster than rifle bullets? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell us if you think America should build a new Blackbird for modern threats. Smash that like button, subscribe for more aviation legends, and we'll see you in the skies where the Blackbird once ruled supreme.